ITA rules, she screamed, slamming the sledgehammer down on my wheelchair over and over again. Helpless on the sidewalk, I could only watch in horror as she destroyed my only way of moving independently. The fury in her eyes as she raised the hammer for another strike, that's an image I'll never erase from my mind. But when the officer arrived and calmly asked, "Ma'am, do you even know who this is?" her face turned ghost white. That's Federal Judge Caldwell, the man who wrote our country's disability housing laws. How did an HOA president's obsession with a perfect neighborhood drive her to commit a federal hate crime against the worst possible target? For 15 years, I served as Judge Robert Caldwell on the Federal Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, earning an unusually early appointment due to my expertise in disability law. My landmark rulings on housing discrimination set legal precedents that protect millions of Americans to this day. At 48, with multiple sclerosis slowly limiting my mobility, I never imagined I'd become a victim of the same discrimination I spent my entire career fighting. After losing my wife, Martha, to a sudden stroke last year, our sprawling family home, where we raised 3 kids and hosted 17 Thanksgiving dinners, felt unbearably empty. With my progressing MS diagnosed 3 years ago when I first struggled with courthouse steps, downsizing was the practical choice. Suncrest Estates seemed like the ideal place, an upscale, gated community outside Phoenix, specifically marketed to retired professionals seeking elegant, maintenance-free living. Everything about it appeared perfect: single-level homes, wider doorways, and gentle sloping entryways instead of steps. Even better, it was just 15 minutes from my neurologist and physical therapy appointments. My custom-built titanium wheelchair, designed for my specific medical condition, cost over $30,000, but it gave me independence and dignity. Its ergonomic structure prevented life-threatening pressure sores, while the advanced control system helped me compensate for my weakening grip. Before purchasing my $685,000 Spanish-style villa, I carefully reviewed the HOA covenant, drawing on decades of experience in property law. Federal housing law would protect my reasonable accommodations, and my realtor, Diane High, even arranged a meeting with an HOA representative. They assured me that medical modifications were routinely approved. What I didn't realize was that Valerie Harmon, the HOA president, saw any visible sign of disability as a threat to her perfect neighborhood. And she was willing to go to extreme, and even criminal, lengths to maintain that vision. The first warning came before the moving truck had even finished unloading. A crisp white envelope with the Suncrest Estates logo was taped to my door. Violation notice. Unauthorized exterior modification. The problem? The accessibility ramp I'd installed at my front entrance. The next morning, Valerie Harmon herself arrived. She was in her mid-30s, meticulously groomed, sleek dark hair, a tailored navy blue suit, and a practiced smile that never quite reached her eyes. Clipboard in hand, she clutched it to her chest like a shield. "Judge Caldwell," she greeted, her tone sickly sweet. "Welcome to Suncrest. I wanted to personally address the issue with your entryway. You see, here at Suncrest, we maintain our property values through aesthetic consistency. Unfortunately, your apparatus disrupts our community standards." When I calmly explained that the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, and Fair Housing Act, FHA, protected reasonable medical accommodations, her expression hardened. "With all due respect to your former position," she said, stressing former with unmistakable condescension, "the ADA does not override our covenant, which you signed. Our residents chose Suncrest precisely because we don't look like a medical facility." That statement, equating accessibility with institutional aesthetics, made her stance crystal clear. Rather than arguing, I simply requested a formal accommodation hearing per Section 8.3 of their own bylaws. "Of course," she replied, waving her immaculate hand dismissively. "Though I should warn you, the board rarely grants exceptions. Precedents are dangerous things, as I'm sure you understand from your former career." As she walked away, I noticed her snapping photos of my specialized wheelchair van. By that afternoon, another violation notice appeared. Commercial vehicles prohibited in driveways. The hearing was postponed 3 times over 8 weeks. Meanwhile, the violations multiplied. White heavy checkmark garden beds. Unapproved landscaping. $75 daily fine. White heavy checkmark bird feeder. Wildlife attraction. $50 daily fine. White heavy checkmark house trim color. Non-compliant. $100 daily fine. White heavy checkmark solar pathway lights. Non-standard exterior lighting. $50 daily fine. Even my automated blinds, essential due to my limited arm mobility, were flagged within 3 hours of installation. By the time I totaled the fines, they exceeded $6,400, with threats of property liens if unpaid. Each appeal was denied, all signed by Valerie Harmon herself. One afternoon, as I collected my mail, my elderly neighbor Claire Wilson, an 82-year-old widow with severe arthritis, invited me in for coffee. Her hands trembled as she poured. "I see you've been getting Valerie's special welcome," she said, nodding toward the violation notice in my pocket. Claire had been fined $3,800 for a small wooden bench next to her mailbox, needed so she could rest during her daily walks. "That's nothing compared to what happened to the Thompsons," she whispered. The Thompsons had a 19-year-old son with cerebral palsy. When they installed a pool lift for his therapy, Valerie lost her mind. Suddenly, every buyer interested in their home mysteriously backed out. They were forced to sell, at a loss of $85,000, to none other than Valerie's sister-in-law. A pattern was emerging. For the next week, I spoke with other residents. Michael Santos, a Vietnam veteran with PTSD, was harassed over his service dog. The Abramovich family was cited because their daughter's wheelchair ramp was visible only on weekends. And then I uncovered something far worse. Valerie had been a featured speaker at a real estate investment conference. Her slides? Stop sign, discouraging undesirable demographic shifts. Stop sign, using technical violations to protect community investment. Stop sign, better one family moves than all our investments suffer. That was it. I filed formal complaints with HUD and the Arizona Attorney General's Civil Rights Division, armed with indisputable evidence. The retaliation was instant. Police Garlight water pressure? Suddenly a trickle. Police Garlight maintenance requests? Ignored. Police Garlight concerned neighbors reporting suspicious activity. Police knocking at 11 p.m. Police Garlight anonymous notes? Maybe assisted living is a better fit for you. But I refuse to be intimidated.
Les règles de l'association, hurla-t-elle en abattant le marteau sur mon fauteuil roulant, encore et encore. Allongé sur le trottoir, impuissant, je regardais avec horreur alors qu'elle détruisait mon seul moyen de mobilité. Son visage, déformé par la rage alors qu'elle levait à nouveau le marteau, est une image que je n'oublierai jamais. Mais lorsque l'officier arriva et lui demanda « Madame, savez-vous qui c'est ?» avant d'ajouter « C'est le juge fédéral Caldwell, l'auteur des lois nationales sur le logement et le handicap. » Son visage devint instantanément livide. Comment la haine d'une présidente d'association envers un voisin perçu comme indésirable l'a-t-elle poussé à commettre un crime de haine fédérale contre la pire victime possible?